Alright, welcome back. Let's talk about bankruptcy and repossessed properties. Now, we have the same scenario. The game has been going on. We have 4 players, and remember, you can have up to 6 players maximum. And we're going to assume to my left here is player Chris. This is John, and this is Linda. Now, John and Linda, they've been buying properties like crazy, and also they've been adding money to their properties, and so they have very high rent. But they're short on cash, and so I want to try to avoid lending on their properties if possible. Now, Chris, on the other hand, he managed to buy this beautiful property here, Pacific Heights, because it is the first favorite property on Giant Circle, and he managed to get enough increases on there to give him a value of $1.5 million plus, and the rent that he can collect on that is $20,000. And so I certainly don't want to land on that. Now, if we were playing for a $1 million giant, he would have already won because he's already in the millions. But because we're keeping score in this game, we're going to add up the points, the values at the end of the game. Okay, on the other hand, I wanted to get married. I still have one property that is Beverly Hills, and I only have one increase on this property when I landed on it. Now, I continued playing, and I wanted to get married because I wanted to collect double every time I come around the boss's office. And so, but I took a chance on getting married because I don't have a prenup card. The prenups are found, there are 3 cards in the lucky card stack. So I took the chance, so I don't want to land on divorce either. And it's my turn to roll the dice. Now let's assume here that what I would love to roll, first of all, is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 would put me on New Rochelle. That's a favorite property, and I have money in the chips to buy that. And 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 would put me on Giant School, and I can collect $20,000 because I'm married. And so therefore, let's assume that instead of that, I roll a 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I land on Pacific Heights. Now, what do? I owe Chris $20,000. Now, the first thing I can do is turn to John and Linda and see whether or not they'll give me enough money for this property. But because they've been putting so much money in their properties, they have very little cash. On the other hand, I have $12,150. If I borrow $6,000 from this here, that would give me $18,150, and that's not enough either. So now I can turn to Chris and see whether or not he wants to take this property and keep me in the game. But because he realizes that I can't sell this property to the others, and he wants me out the game anyway, he says he doesn't want to bargain like that. So he just wants the rent. And so what happens? That's a GKO for him. I'm bankrupt. So I have to give him my property, and I would give him all the money that I have here, including all the credit chips that I have, and then I would simply walk away from the game. Now, let's assume that instead of that, I landed on divorce. Okay, so I'm over here and I roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So now I'm on divorce and I don't have a prenup card. So the next thing to happen is that, first of all, I'm going to undo my token, so I'm back to being single. And I only have one property, and I have to give up this property to the bank. So that goes into the repo pile over here. You can put that in the same bowl that you're using to collect the credit chips. Now, one important thing is every time a property goes into repo, you have to make sure that the marker stays with the property. It doesn't matter where the marker is. It stays with the property. And the next player to land on that property will pick it up with only one credit chip. So let's say John, for example, it's his turn to roll after Chris, and he rolls and lands on this property. He can pick it up and give up one credit chip, and he would take the property. All right, and finally, the only other way to become bankrupt is if, let's say, I roll the dice. Let me put him back here. If I roll the dice and I landed on a lucky card space, and I pick up a lucky card that tells me to pay property taxes, and let's assume I didn't have enough money to do that, and that would, and also I couldn't bargain whatever assets that I do have, and so I would be bankrupt to the bank, and so the bank now would take the properties that I do have, and also the cash would go to the bank. So when you're bankrupt by the bank, everything goes back to the bank, and the property goes into repo. And if you're bankrupt by another player, then the player would get to keep all the assets that you do have. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it with bankruptcy and repossessed properties. I'll see you next time.